over the resignation of Boris Johnson. And with by-elections on the way, which they are likely to lose, are the Tories toast? Have they reached the point of no return? Let's get the views now of the leader of Reform UK, who hopes to destroy the Tories at the next election, Richard Tice. Richard, can you take seats from Rishi Sunak?
Good evening, Mark. And yes, of course we can. And this video, I think, is probably the most shocking, appalling thing that any of us have seen throughout this whole utter shambles of the COVID process, the lockdowns. This video was taken on December the 14th, 2020, the very same day, Mark, that the then Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, texted, WhatsApped some of his colleagues saying, when do we deploy the new variant? How do we scare the pants off the population to terrify us all, to keep us locked up in our homes so that they would ruin our Christmas? On the very same day, his colleagues in the Conservative Party were frankly getting pissed, partying. And now two of them at that party, one Sean Bailey, is now a peer of the realm. He's been given a peerage. One of the other people at that party has now got an OBE. I mean, up and down the country, people are shocked, appalled, horrified by what has gone on. And rest assured, we and the other political parties will be playing this video every month, every week, every day until the next general election. And we will seek to make sure that the British people never forget what has gone on here. Never forget that whilst they terrified the population, they knew that this virus, yes, the vulnerable and elderly people, it was a serious threat. But for the rest of us, we should have done what was proposed in the Great Barrington Declaration, which I and many others promoted literally at the same time, and we were smeared, we were vilified, we were shouted at, we were cut off, we weren't allowed to talk on broadcast channels or on the media about it, but we were right. And these people were taking the mickey. And I've never been more disgusted, revolted and appalled by this video.
Richard Tice, you've been a keen observer of politics for many years prior to your entry into it. Do you honestly think, hand on heart, that the Tories are now nailed on to lose the next election? Or is there a small amount of hope for Rishi Sunak that he could turn things round?
Zero. Niente. No chance whatsoever. The only question, Mark, is the scale of their defeat, which is hugely deserved, given not only this sort of stuff that's come out, that's appalled the population, but I just want to say very clearly, they've been in charge for 13 years. Does anybody feel better off? Yes or no? Does anybody feel that it's easier to see a GP? Yes or no? Does anybody feel it's safer on our streets? Yes or no? Does anybody feel that our immigration system is under control? Yes or no? And the answer to all of those questions is no. And for that reason, they will be demolished, they will be destroyed. And quite rightly, you cannot reward failure with more incumbency.
And Richard, you know as well as I do that share of vote is of no use in a first-past-the-post electoral system. So how many seats can Reform UK take?
But Mark, that's a great question. The more people that vote for us, the better. And of course, I'm not denying it. First past the post is very difficult for smaller parties. That's why we must move towards proportional representation, which is the system used by the vast majority of democracies in the Western world. I mean, first past the post, we share that with Belarus, for heaven's sake. It's not great company, is it? So look, we need to get rid of the first past the post system. The Tories apparently believe in competition. They believe in free markets. Well, if you believe in competition, you should actually believe in new ideas, new people, new parties, and compete with them. And the voters can decide who is the best, who's got the best ideas, who is the best group of people to run the country.
Well, of course, if you win, let's say, 5 or 10 seats or 15 seats at the next election, which is possible, you could hold the balance of power. Richard Tice could be a kingmaker. But let me now finally ask you, I've got Edwina Currie waiting in the wings, and you don't keep her hanging around, do you? But let me just ask you a question that you've got to answer 10 times a day. And you know what I'm going to ask you, which is by diluting the Conservative votes, you will be gifting the keys of number 10 to Keir Starmer.
No, Mark, no. No. They are two sides of the same socialist coin. High taxes, nanny state regulation, low growth. There's no difference between the two. If you want high growth, if you want higher wages, if you want to control immigration, the only people you can vote for is Reform UK. The con-socialist Tories and the Labour Party, they're exactly the same. There's no difference between them. And that's why people will make a very different choice at the next election.
Richard Tice, let's catch up soon. Good to have you on the show. Richard Tice is the leader of Reform UK.